Hey, hello again, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Silver Bullion Television, SBTV. I'm your host, Patrick Vieira, and we're going to be taking a look at the central banks that the U.S. has had, the two central banks, and now the third that the U.S. has. So we will be taking a look at that primarily. We'll be going over the Chris Galizio interview. I will ask a few questions from there, a few items from Gerald Talente's Trends Journal, and I tell you what, the central bank thing is pretty interesting. I labeled this live stream the last Independence Day because it kind of means the last Independence Day we had from a central bank. And can we get it again? So happy 4th to you in the States. Happy 4th of July. I'll be with you guys shortly. Just let me take a quick look what's out there. Steve Fernandez, how you doing? Peter Frowine, how you doing? Um, let's see. Peter Frowan, Seymour Rivers, how you doing? Tim Silva, how you doing? Hello from Philippines, how you doing? Kumusta? Glad to have you on board. Yeah, Seymour Rivers, last one. I hope not as well, but I do hope, in the sense that it's the last central bank we can get away from it. So anyway, I'll be with you guys shortly. I'll just grab a few sips of water or coffee here and there, and then we'll get started with this in about 30 seconds or so. So I'll see you guys shortly. Yeah, Chris, how you doing? Patrick Bateman, how you doing? Harold B, yes. How about the second one? Okay, well, interesting comments right off the bat. Well, let's have a good one here. See you guys shortly. Yeah, so again, hello one and all. Welcome to Silver Bullion Television, SBTV. This is our weekly live stream, and again, I am your host, Patrick Vieira. Thank you all for being here. Looks like got a good crowd. A lot of the stalwarts. Appreciate you guys supporting us. Yes, happy 4th of July weekend if you are in the States, which is why we're going to be taking a look at Independence. Independence Day, or hopefully an Independence Day from central banks. Because if it's not independence, the opposite is dependence. So we'll be taking a look at that for sure. Silverbullion.com .sg is where you can find us on the web. This is our website where, yes, we do buy and sell precious metals. We do store precious metals, but more than that, we are a wealth protection company. We can help you to understand what it is as far as systemic wealth protection and have some options for you. Excuse me there. So give us an email. Send us an email, sales@silverbullion.com.sg, and we'll go ahead and see what we can do to help you as far as systemic wealth protection that's on the way. Silver Bullion SG is where you can find us on Facebook. Silver Bullion PL is where you can find us on Twitter, PL for Private Limited. Silver Bullion SG Instagram account, audio only versions, bit.ly, SBTV iTunes, or SBTV Spotify. And go ahead and join our Crisis Tracker group. You can do this by opening up your Telegram app or downloading the Telegram app. It is free. So go ahead and get it and search one word, Crisis Tracker. And this is where Vincent and I, we will go ahead and post news, financial news, economic news, gold and silver news, sometimes geopolitical news. All these things, they do have a role as far as gold and silver. So I do hope you can join us and just join that group on Telegram. So let me take a quick look at the comments here real quick. Um, Carrie Ellen Wilder, how are you doing? I'm hoping it is. As I was doing the research last week, I found it to be pretty interesting, and it kind of was sparked by Nick Giambruno when he had talked about Andrew Jackson. So I went ahead and researched Andrew Jackson a bit, and then it kind of fell into the whole central bank deal. So I'm hoping it will be pretty eye opening for each of you as well. So go ahead and, as mentioned, join our crisis tracker group. One word, crisis tracker. Go ahead and search that in your Telegram app. All right, moving on to our upcoming guest. It is going to be Bill Holter. Currently writes and is partnered with Jim Sinclair. Prior, he wrote for Miles Franklin, and he was a interesting. He was a retail stockbroker for 23 years, including 12 as a branch manager at AG Edwards. And then he left Wall Street in late 2006 to avoid potential liabilities related to management of paper assets as he foresaw the great financial crisis coming. And we're going to ask him what else he sees coming on the way. So be sure to subscribe. Go ahead and hit that bell to be notified, and thumbs ups are always appreciated. So, Bill Holter coming up. Subscribe. We'll let you know when it is. And as always, our appreciation to all of you out there, our ebook, thank you, our Amazon gift card, thank you. We're going to be giving away a $10 Amazon gift card. Again, we appreciate you all being here for us. It's our way to say thank you. If you want to win this gift card, house rules, be one of the first five to answer correctly in this live stream before the timer runs out. You're going to have about a minute and 30 seconds. And US winners, you're going to be given a link to go ahead and download that gift card. Non US winners, you probably or might have to contact Amazon to let them know how they can accommodate you with the US gift card if maybe you're in a different country, say perhaps Australia. And most importantly, provide us with an email during this live stream so we can go ahead and get it to you after the live stream. So those are pretty much the rules, pretty easy. And the question is going to come from the Chris Galizio interview. So I hope you had a chance to watch and maybe remember what Chris had to say. It was a couple weeks out there, but this is the question. When interest rates go negative, all assets are worth blank. Okay. When interest rates go negative, all assets are worth blank. So go ahead and give it a shot. You never know. You may get it first five. First five, we'll go ahead and send those gift cards out after the live stream. So let me scroll through real quick here and see what's out there. Yeah, glad that we got Bill Holter on. It's been a while since we've had him on. Did I purchase any silver this weekend? I am going to do it now before it starts moving up. But thanks for the reminder there. So Chris Galizio says when interest rates go negative, all assets are worth blank. So go ahead and give it a shot. Peter Frowine, less. Okay, it's a good answer. Seymour Rivers, more. All right, so we're on all ends of the spectrum here. Rod says buying. Okay, what else is out there? A gazillion bazillion dollars, says Truth Monster. Yeah, that's a good point. When interest rates go negative, all assets are worth a gazillion bazillion dollars. Okay. Harold B says infinity. Joe Taz says nothing. Patrick Bateman says nothing or zero. Oldine for real says to the moon. 49 Fine says more. All right, keep them coming. We're almost out of time. Keep them coming. And let's see what else is out there. Um, I'll wait just a little bit more. 49 Fine. It's the last one that I see right now. It's a little bit of a time lag, right? Like 10 seconds or so. So we'll go ahead and we'll end it at 49 Fine. Okay, we'll end it there. So we actually got three winners. We have three winners here. It's going to be I'll put in Truth Monster, a gazillion bazillion dollars. That's pretty close to infinite. So we'll go ahead and give you that. Harold B also said infinity. So that's a for sure win right there. We'll give you that. Oldine for real says to the moon. I will kind of take that as infinite as well. So those three will get the gift card after the live stream. We'll go ahead and send it to you. So just to make sure that this was the correct answer, we'll go ahead and revisit our guest, Chris Galizio, and we'll see what he had to say in our recent interview with him.
As interest rates fall, asset prices rise, right? Everyone knows that. Has anyone thought about what happens when interest rates go negative, like they are today? When interest rates go negative, all assets are worth infinite. In the movie, we would describe it like this: my coffee is worth infinite. My desk is worth infinite. My chalkboard is worth infinite. Does that make sense? And of course, that doesn't make sense, right? Because they're playing with the price of money, which is the most important statistic in finance. When everything's worth infinite, I can't distinguish between the value of my cell phone with this Tap It logo or my coffee, because it's all worth infinite. So the entire system starts to misallocate resources. Here's the problem. Capitalism requires risk, interest rates, to allocate scarce resources. When you remove risk from an ecosystem, you change the ecosystem.
Okay, so that was Chris Galizio, and I freely admit I didn't. I'm still trying to wrap my head around this one. When interest rates go negative, assets are worth infinite. And again, I'm really trying to wrap my head around it. If an interest rate is negative, essentially an asset loses. I'm guessing it loses its anchor to money. Is how I kind of understood it. Again, maybe you might understand this one better than I did. But if the anchor to money is lost, price discovery is lost, and what that then becomes, or what then becomes the true value of that item or for anything, except what the market will pay. And then you have another problem with that. What does the market pay with? What does it have or hold in value? So money or a currency that has no meaning anymore. How do you price something in that? So again, I'm really still trying to wrap my head around this one, but I'll believe Chris. He's a smart guy. So if any of you folks out there can wrap your head around this one, how assets become infinite, go ahead and shout it out in the comment section. Appreciate that. In the meantime, I'll play another clip from Chris Galizio.
Once the Fed intervened in markets, it broke the ecosystem. The stock market was no longer an investing system, it's a financing vehicle, which disconnects stocks from fundamentals. So now you have two different economies. You have the financial economy and the real economy that no longer work together. Historically, those two things should work together to efficiently allocate scarce resources. But once they intervened, it broke the system. And we all know at the end of the day that money printing doesn't create wealth. And yet you have all these PhDs across the world telling you that no, the Fed can control it. And we all know it doesn't work. And by the way, they're also telling you that markets are efficient. In our movie, the professor's going to lift the book, The Efficient Market Thesis, and he's going to laugh. He's going to say, smart people thought the world was flat once too. And then he's going to say, the most underused books in finance are history books. And then he's going to talk about the Great German Inflation from 1921 to 1924, and which caused the rise of Hitler. And he's going to circle a word on the board, inflation. So in Money Game, we're trying to change the ending. We know how the movie typically ends. It ends with everyone blaming the capitalists and turning to an authoritarian leader like Hitler. We want to change the ending. We want them to blame the central planners and return to capitalism. And that's what we're trying to do.
All right, Chris Galizio. The Fed intervened and broke the ecosystem, is what he's saying, and I'd have to definitely agree with that. The stock market became a financing vehicle, is what he also said. And I think we're all seeing that. It looks to be true again. And stocks were disconnected from fundamentals. We all know this. We definitely saw that during COVID, where the Fed was picking and choosing and picking winners and losers. Money printing does not create wealth. The most underused books in finance are history books. Completely agree there. Everyone will blame capitalism and turn to an authoritarian leader, is what Chris says. We've seen that happen in history as well. So just want to throw this in there real quick. The winners again, Truth Monster, Harold B. We have your emails. Uh, Oldine, for real? We're going to need your email as well. So go ahead and send that to sbtv at silverbullion.com.sg. So again, we have the other two. We just need Oldine for real. Okay, so what are your thoughts on this? Everyone will blame capitalism and turn to an authoritarian leader. Again, we saw this. We did see this, which kind of led or did lead to World War II. So what are your thoughts on this, and what kind of, I'm going to say, adverse effects might this have again? So go ahead and put in the comments section. I'll look for them. You guys got some great comments out there right now. I'm looking at Rod. He's saying there is no true price discovery to anything nowadays. High frequency trading, derivatives, and extreme money printing have seen to this. It's a good comment, Rod. Absolutely agree with you. Absolutely agree with you there. One more clip from Chris Galicio.
U.S. does have a lot of gold, and you'd probably know better than me. I'm not necessarily a gold expert, but I think it's like 8,000 tons or something like that. I'm not the expert on this. But if you reprice gold to 20,000, say, all of a sudden the U.S. has a lot of money. And by the way, their debt to GDP isn't as high as it used to be, right? So if you just reprice gold to 20,000, you'll see the U.S. does not have nearly the amount of debt that they had. They can actually then safely raise interest rates because they do have gold on its balance sheet. So I think that a reset like that is definitely possible. Again, I'm not the expert, but I think something like that makes sense.
All right. So the US has gold. What are your thoughts on that? Do we have those 8,000 plus tons of gold? Or do you think the US has it? If gold is repriced, the US has a lot of money. The US has a lot of money if we reprice gold. And this is part of the argument I don't quite understand because people say we don't have enough gold. They just need to reprice it. I mean, it kind of makes sense to think of it that way. And a reset of gold prices, well, makes sense. Just kind of said it there. Well, what are your thoughts on this? One, do you think the US has the gold? Two, do you just need to reset the price to offset the monetary supply? And then would that kind of balance things out? So one, do you think the US has the gold? Two, do you think to get out of debt in some ways, they just need to reprice the gold? So what do you think? And the odd thing here is gold is supposed to be a freely trading commodity. And so for anyone to kind of reset a price, I mean, it kind of tells you it's not a freely trading commodity anymore. But curious to see what are your thoughts on this. I'll be looking for them. I'll head on over to Gerald Solente's weekly message, an article on Paul's possibilities and rates continued to rise. So Gerald's weekly message. NATO Security Secretary General announced as we were going to press, which was last week, that Turkey agreed to lift its objection to Sweden and Finland joining the alliance, which means Russia will likely make good on its threat to line up ballistic missiles on its border with Finland. And paving the path to World War III, Stoltenberg is bragging that NATO will increase its forces and deployments near Russia from 40,000 troops to 300,000 troops. And these meetings or announcements came at the G7 meeting in the Bavarian Alps, where they also announced fictitious plans on how to cap Russian oil prices. So there goes your freely traded commodities. One other notable exchange from the meeting was how these leaders showed what clowns they are by the way they expressed their contempt for President VP of country R, where video emerged that were showed French President Emmanuel Macron, Prime Minister Boris Johnson, US President Joe Biden, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, all mocking the Russian leader over the years old photo that showed him riding bare chested on horseback. I think you folks remember that photo. And these are the people the world is relying on to keep us from nuclear Armageddon. Peace needs to go on the offensive. I mean, they're kind of like little kids here, right? I mean, these are the leaders. Powell's possibilities. A U.S. recession is not our intended outcome at all, but it's certainly possible. U.S. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell said in testimony before the Senate Banking Committee back on 22 June. The nation's economy is very strong, he told lawmakers, but warned that new inflation surprises could be in store. Containing inflation running at 8.6% in May has become more challenging for the Fed, he admitted. And regarding the Fed's goal of reining inflation back to the central bank's 2% target, Powell said the question of whether we are going to accomplish it is going to depend to some extent on factors we don't control, such as commodity prices spiking in the wake of the Ukraine war and the possibility that China might impose more anti COVID lockdowns. A key urgency is to keep inflation from becoming embedded in the economy, says Paul. We know from history that that will hurt people in the lower income spectrum, he added. All right. Another article, rates to continue rise. More members of the U.S. Federal Reserve's rate setting open market committee are ready to raise the key federal funds rate another 3/4 of a point at the group's meeting next month, the Financial Times reported. Michelle Bowman, a member of the Fed's Board of Governors, voiced support for the bump based on current inflation readings. Increases of at least a half a point at each of the committee's next few meetings likely will be needed as long as incoming data supports them, she added. In my view, our number one responsibility is to reduce inflation, she said. Now, on 26 June, Christopher Waller, another Fed governor, said the central bank is all in on establishing price stability and that he plans to support another 3/4 point hike next month if the data is expected. And Neil Kashkari, president of the Fed Reserve Bank of Minneapolis, has been more reluctant than many of his colleagues to raise the rate so much so quickly. But he recently said that a 3/4 point rise next month might be necessary, and most bank officials now expect the benchmark Fed funds rate to climb to 3.75% by December. What say you? Do you think it'll get to that 3.75%? I'll ask Bill Holter. That's for sure. But these things, what everyone's saying is, I mean, a lot of it makes no sense to me. I mean, they're so far behind the curve. Everything they're doing, they're looking at data coming in yesterday, last month. They're not. I mean, they should be looking at it down the road, if you ask me. And I don't know why they don't do it, unless they have some alternative, I guess. There. So let me see what else is out there. Yeah, 495. I heard about this. 20,000 gold. Uganda would become one of the richest countries on the planet with their new deposits that they found. A lot of people, they're not taking that as truth. Some people are. Interesting to see what happens out of it. Let me see what else is out there. Um, yeah, the MiG 26. How you doing, my friend? Aloha to you too. Bill Wood. Reagan told us in 64 that we have no gold. So, do we have it? Do we not have it? Reagan says no. Um, I'm not really hearing people come out and actually say yes, 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 yes. We do. So, again, we really got to keep our eye on some of these things. Let's see, JW in Japan. The gold is probably there, and then some, but the government will never accept the fiscal restraints that redeemable gold money requires. That's another great point. Even if it is there, you think the politicians want to be kept responsible to their fiscal duties? I mean, probably not. So even if the gold is there, why a politician will not adhere to it anyway? So two out of those three things, not good news. So anyway, we'll see what happens. We'll move on here. We'll move on to our website, silverbullion.com.sg. Let me go ahead and refresh this here. Okay. So we can see right now silver 1989. So Seymour Rivers, you asked if I'll be buying silver. I Yes, I will. It's on the way back down, unfortunately, but I will be buying some for sure. Uh, Want to take a look at a few things here. Again, silver right now, 1989 USD price, gold 1808. That's the price, a little bit down, kind of relatively unchanged. Both metals are relatively unchanged. If you want to contact us, international clients, you want to contact us, you can do it in different languages. You just need to come down here and click on the language you want. The email will open up and let us know what language you prefer, and we'll go ahead and communicate with you in that language. I guess it might be good to pick up a foreign language here for me. Download Silver Bullion Investor Kit. This is free. All you need to do is click on it. You'll find a lot of great information here. It'll open up on the web, so you can look at that PDF file on the web, or you can download it if you choose to. So this is a free investor kit. Go ahead and take a look at it. I wanted to look at the ratio. We're in the 90s. 90.9 is where we are at right now. It seems like not that long ago, we were only in the 70s. 90.9, it's kind of a, if you're looking to buy some gold, buy some silver, this number is pretty much screaming at you to buy silver. If you're on the fence, which metal you should get, this number here is telling you to get silver. Typically, anything over 80 is an indicator to get silver, or around 80 that you would like to purchase silver, and that is because of the silver to gold ratio. This is a pretty good indicator if you plan to hold the metals long term for sure. So I want to come back up here again. If you are in Singapore, or even if you have an account with us or plan on opening an account with us, we do have some deals going on right now. Actually, they're pretty good. Canadian maples, these are 2020 maples, but they're only $40 above spot, and that's a good price. International people, guys in storage, out of stock. But if you are in Singapore, you can go ahead and pick up. We have 31 more of these coins that we will put on special for you. Nadir silver bars, 100-ounce silver bars. You can go ahead and choose to use your storage account. 515 bars available for you to hold in the shop. You can come down. We still have 17 more bars. These are also at a good price, along with the Johnson Matthey 100-ounce bars. 8 more to pick up in the shop. 300 more in storage, or 330 more in storage. So if you are an international client or looking to open up an account with us, there's 6 types of account: personal, joint, a trust, a joint with a minor. This is pretty popular here also. a business account, and a retirement account. This is also pretty popular. The easiest one, of course, is a personal account. Basically, you just need real simple information, your name, ID, preferably a passport, the type of currency that you want to operate in, your bank account in case you want to sell your metal to us. We can go ahead and send you the the funds to your account. And notice I said your metal. It's because you own it. You are the one that owns it. And to help us out here, references, just go all the way down here and go ahead and click on YouTube SBTV. So there are a lot of things that you can do with your account. One of the most favorite, of course, is the P2P loans. I'll just take a quick look at it. What this is if you're storing with us, there's three different currencies you can use here: Sing dollars, US dollars, and euros. You can go ahead and collateralize or use your gold and silver in storage to go ahead and get a loan. We have a person here, 1 month loan they're asking for. They're requesting half a million or a $250,000, 250,000 USD. They're asking if they can get 3.5%. And they did put up silver as collateral. It looks like, let me see, we do have someone who can, we do have lenders who will go ahead and make that loan happen. But they're asking 4%. So these guys will kind of have to work on it here. The money is there. To be a lender, all you need to do is sign up for an account. To be a borrower, you need to have gold and silver stored with us. So in this case, this person here, you can see this is what he's putting up as collateral. We're talking 1 kg gold bars. So he has quite a few 1 kg gold bars and some 10-ounce silver bars. He has some 100-ounce silver bars. So basically, again, if you're storing with us, you can go ahead and use that as collateral. If you got questions about it, go ahead and email us sales@silverbullion.com.sg. And taking a look at Twitter, this one here is pretty important. Some reports, it's not confirmed yet, say that Saudi is joining the BRICS coalition and the new commodity-based reserve currency that China, Russia, India, and Brazil are supporting. If Saudi goes way of the BRICS, I mean, it's confirmation the petrodollar is dead. I think we all know the petrodollar is dead anyway, but this is really the final confirmation if this should happen. Let me see. Let me scroll down a bit here. Powell says, he I think now we understand better how little we understand about inflation. And he's kind of echoing something Yellen said, where she misunderstood inflation. And Powell is saying we understand better, which kind of in the reverse means he didn't understand it that well, or he misunderstood it. So the two former, well, one current Fed head, one former Fed head, both do not understand inflation. This is trouble for sure. Let me scroll down here a bit. Um, okay, let me get out of the Twitter. I'll come back to you guys. I know the comments are really going on here, so let me just take a look at a few of them. Um, let's see. Yeah, that Reagan thing, the dates kind of don't line up a bit. So I mean, really got to check and make sure that was true with what he said. Rod, $40 above spot. I'd say yeah, that's a good price. So again, if you're in Singapore and you want those maples, just go ahead and order it. Come on down to the shop and take them home. They're yours for sure. Let's see what else is out there. Um, let's see. You know what? That's geopolitically hard to deny, where they will be thrown under the bus if they haven't been already, and they need to look out for their own interests. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. But anyway, nonetheless, that was our website. That was Twitter. Let's just move on to the topic of the day: Independence Day. And can our independence celebration turn into a central bank dependence day celebration? If we do nothing, independence will quickly turn into dependence. Stick around and you'll see why. So, our US viewers are celebrating Independence Day. So, happy 4th of July to our US viewers. With that word independence, I wanted to take a look at the two times the United States was able to claim independence from central banks. And with a little luck and blessings, maybe the third time the US can shed its central bank will be a charm. Maybe it might be a charm not just for the US, but for the entire world. Depending on how you look at things, it could be a charm for the entire world. Now, independence for the United States came through the American Revolutionary War. A country's independence was won, although what was lost was its faith in their paper money, their paper currency called the Continental. Now, to finance the American Revolution, the Continental Congress printed the new nation's first paper money. Known as Continentals, the fiat money notes were issued in such quantity they led to inflation, which, though mild at first, rapidly accelerated as the war progressed. And eventually, people lost. They lost faith in these notes, and the phrase "not worth a continental" came to mean utterly worthless. As a refresher, I'd like to go back and recall something past guest Dr. Lawrence Ree had to say about this. The US, or let's just call it US, to perhaps losing the war of independence because of hyperinflation.
Well, you know, it was a very precarious situation right from the start. I mean, America was taking on the most powerful military in the world. We had some advantages in that that military was based 3,000 miles away and had to cross an ocean to get here. And we were a pretty vast territory and could strike and then retreat to the woods in many instances. But still, our military was ragtag, ill equipped, and poorly fed for much of those early years. And then when Congress printed paper money and imposed price controls, it made the situation even worse. When the soldiers famously were starving at Valley Forge during that winter of 1777 78, you had the British, who were 3,000 miles away from home. They were across the river in New Jersey and they were having a decent time. They were getting food, they were supplied. Why? Not so much because they were bringing their food from Britain. No, they were buying it from farmers in the area. If you were a farmer at that time, you could think, well, you know, I got a family to feed. I can sell my crops to the colonial troops, who I certainly personally support, but Congress is forcing me to take depreciating paper money at controlled prices. I'll go bankrupt. And how do I feed my family? Meantime, the British come to me and they say, if you sell your food to us, we'll give you gold or silver. So the farmers, many of them, were supplying the British as their compatriots were starving at Valley Forge. Thank you, price controls and paper inflation. We almost lost the war because of that economic stupidity. Fortunately, the hyperinflation taught us a lesson, and we turned it around and instituted a sounder money late in the war, and that helped us to win the final battles. Of course, you have to thank the French too.
Right, Dr. Reed, love always what he has to say here. After this, the first bout with hyperinflation that almost lost the Revolutionary War, the first central bank of the United States was created at the urging of Treasury Secretary Alexander Hamilton. Now, as such, the Congress established the first Bank of the United States, headquartered in Philadelphia back in 1791. So this is pretty interesting because, again, back at the Revolutionary War, there were price controls going on, as noted in that interview with Dr. Reed. There were price controls going on. Farmers weren't making money, much less on inflating uh, Continental. They didn't want them, and they were selling their crops to their enemy for gold, to the British for gold, the real money. So it's interesting how things actually play out in real life. Nonetheless, moving on here, it was the largest corporation in the country and was dominated by big banking and money interests. Many agrarian minded Americans uncomfortable with the idea of a large and powerful bank opposed it. Now, when the bank's 20-year charter expired in 1811, Congress refused to renew it by one vote, Independence Day. The Bank of the US was established in 1791, again, to summarize it, to serve as a repository for the federal funds or for federal funds and as the government's fiscal agent. Now, initially proposed by Alexander Hamilton, the first bank was granted a 20-year charter by Congress in spite of the opposition to the Jeffersonians, to whom it represented the dominance of mercantile over agrarian interests and an unconstitutional use of federal power. The bank, based in Philadelphia with branches in 8 cities, conducted general commercial business as well as acting for the government. How do you do that? Isn't that a conflict of interest there, the way I would see it? But anyway, it was both well managed and profitable, but it won the enmity of entrepreneurs and state banks who argued that its fiscal caution was constraining economic development. Constraining economic development. Now it's just overdoing it. The others were troubled by the fact that two-thirds of the bank's stock was held by British interests. These critics, working with agrarian opponents of the bank, succeeded in preventing renewal of the charter in 1811. And the first central bank of the US went out of operation. Again, Independence Day. With Jeffersonians in control, the charter for the original bank expired in 1811, but the nation's financial struggles during the War of 1812, just a year later, led Congress to charter the Second Bank of the United States. Enter James Madison and the War of 1812 and the nation's second central bank.
He was eminently qualified for the job. A veteran of the Revolution, author of the Constitution, a Jeffersonian Democrat, and a Virginian.
This was not only a very smart man, this was a man who did his homework and was really prepared for whatever came up.
Except for a war, the War of 1812, which ultimately defined his presidency.
Madison comes into office with an enormous problem on his hands, and Madison is really pushed by events into the war with England.
The War of 1812 was sparked on the high seas. Shortly after Madison's inauguration, the British began seizing American ships and impressing U.S. sailors and merchant seamen. Diplomatic efforts to solve the crisis went nowhere. Finally, on June 18, 1812, James Madison became the first president in U.S. history to ask Congress for a declaration of war.
We declared war on Great Britain. They did not declare war on us. Our Navy in 1812 numbered about 20 ships. Theirs numbered about 1,000. Their army was battling Napoleon and was triumphant. We had barely a militia. It was a foolish thing to do.
Then, in August 1814, the British raided Washington and burned the president's mansion. Driven from his home, James Madison became the first and only sitting president to face enemy fire.
We definitely lost this war. Poor Madison is burdened with this image that he got us into the war.
Desperate to end it, Madison sent James Monroe to negotiate peace with England. In December 1814, Monroe succeeded with the Treaty of Ghent, officially ending the war.
This is rude awakening about world politics that Madison gets with the War of 1812. It's a time of the opening up of the presidency, the part of America becoming much more mature. And the president has to play a role in this because he is the symbol of the United States.
All right, president is the symbol of the United States. Got to remember that one. But at this point, it's interesting how the United States just shed itself from the central bank of England, and then a war which basically was caused by England erupts. Of course, this war will need to be paid for, and the second central bank of the US is born. You gotta say, what's going on there? Thus, the second bank of the US was born and funded $35 million and lasted some 20 years. After struggling in its early years, the bank built a solid reputation by the end of the 1820s under the leadership of its third president, Nicholas Biddle. However, there were those who distrusted the second bank of the United States. Among them was Andrew Jackson, the Tennessee war hero who was elected president in 1828. As the champion of the common man, Jackson opposed the concentration, of power in the hands of the powerful few, like Biddle, who was from a prominent Philadelphia family at the expense of ordinary farmers and workers. As president, Jackson made no secret of the fact that he opposed the bank's upcoming recharter in 1836 The bank was popular with many Americans, however, and Jackson's opponents, including Senator Henry Clay of Kentucky. Clay convinced Biddle, this is interesting, Clay convinced Biddle to seek an early recharter before the election of 1832, betting that Jackson would not veto the recharter if Congress passed it. Both houses of Congress did pass the bill, which extended the charter of the bank for an additional 15 years. 1 week later, though, on July 10th, 1832, Jackson returned the bill unsigned, unsigned along with a message to Congress in which he announced his veto, declaring that the bank was unauthorized by the Constitution, subversive to the rights of states, and dangerous to the liberties of the people. Remember, at the time, states had the power, uh, silver and gold. They could use nothing other than silver and gold as a form of payment. So, again, this was kind of subverting the rights of the states. In his veto message, Jackson directly contradicted the Supreme Court's 1819 ruling by McCulloch versus Maryland, which held that the Bank of the United States was unconstitutional. Unconstitutional. He claimed the right for himself as president to judge its constitutionality independent of Congress or the courts. The bank's charter gave the institution too much power over the nation's financial markets, he argued, power that enabled it to generate huge profits for its stockholders, most of whom were foreigners and our own opulent citizens. Sounds familiar again. If we must have a bank with private stockholders, every consideration of sound policy and every impulse of American feeling admonishes that it should be purely American, Jackson wrote. But the real evil of the bank, Jackson claimed, was its creation of a privileged class of Americans with too much money and political power. Sounds like our politicians here. Sorry, guys. It is to be regretted that the rich and powerful too often bend the acts of government to their selfish purposes, he wrote. And this was unjust and dangerous to the humble members of society, the farmers, the mechanics, and laborers who have neither the time nor means of securing like favors to themselves. The recharter bill went back to Congress, where, despite steadfast support from Clay and Daniel Webster, it did not have the two-thirds majority support necessary to override Jackson's veto. The battle over the bank became a central issue in the presidential campaign that year, in which Jackson soundly defeated Clay to win a second term. Independence Day #2. The bank wars, lasting implications. To weaken the bank before its charter ran out, Jackson ordered that all U.S. government deposits be withdrawn and deposited in various state chartered banks. In response, okay, your central bank that's supposed to be working for you, in response, Biddle restricted the bank's loans, tightening the nation's money supply in an effort to inspire public outrage toward Jackson's policies and force the recharter. Instead, the ensuing financial distress inspired greater suspicion of the bank's power. Now, as the bank war continued, Jackson's opponents organized the Whig Party, named after the British term for opponents of monarchic, monarchical, monarch power. Just put it. I have a hard time pronouncing that. I'm sorry, guys. Power in 1834. The Whig dominated Senate formally censured Jackson for removing the federal deposits, an action that Jackson's supporters, who now called themselves Democrats, voted to remove from the Senate record as soon as they gained control in 1837. The charter of the Second Bank of the United States expired in 1836, and a defeated Biddle accepted an offer from Pennsylvania to turn it into a state chartered bank. With the removal of the bank as a regulating force, state banks began printing currency and lending money in crazy amounts, exorbitant amounts. The resulting high inflation and Jackson policies favoring hard currency, gold and silver, led many investors to panic and many banks to close due to insufficient reserves in a financial crisis known as the Panic of 1837. Enter Martin Van Buren.
Van Buren stumbles into the great economic financial disaster of 1837, which was pretty much the equivalent of the 2009 bust in the United States. And it was terrifying to people, and the banks were failing.
The credit system of the country collapses. And so we're in a terrible recession, which really lasts for years.
What became known as the Panic of 1837 shut down 90% of factories on the East Coast. In New York, at least 50,000 were unemployed, more than 15% of the city's population.
New York City was the great engine of the American economy, and with hundreds of thousands of people either out of work or underemployed, that took a lot of the wind out of Van Buren's sails. He looked like a weak, emasculated president.
The collapse happened within 2 months of Van Buren taking office. The president called an emergency session of Congress, the first that didn't involve a military crisis.
He tried to put federal deposits of money into public places, but that wasn't tremendously effective.
He doesn't have a Congress that will allow him to pass this legislation, so Van Buren spends most of his time trying to create a solution which never is given a chance to work, and probably wouldn't have worked anyway.
In his defense, no one had ever confronted a problem like this. There were no tools of government intervention. All the modern tricks that presidents use to open the floodgates or to close the floodgates to improve the economy didn't exist.
Van Buren tried his best to run a tight ship at the executive mansion. There was only one government employee at the White House, the doorman. The president kept a small staff, around a dozen, and paid them out of his own pocket. But the perception was that he was out of step with the suffering public.
He did some landscaping of the gardens around the White House, and he got in a lot of political trouble because it was a depression, and he had spent $3,000 on flower beds.
He was easily made fun of, Martin Van Ruin. There's a famous quotation by somebody who criticized him for living in luxury in the White House and dipping his tapering white fingers in finger bowls and eating dishes with French names while the ordinary people were hungry.
Andrew Jackson had been a man of the people. Van Buren appeared anything but. And with an election looming, the people were about to make their voice heard louder than ever before.
Okay, so Jackson's Democratic successor, Martin Van Buren, proposed the establishment of a new independent treasury system, which would fulfill Jackson's goals of separating the nation's finances from its government, repealed by the Whigs in 1841 after Van Buren's loss to William Henry Harrison. The Independent Treasury Act was signed back into law by Democratic President James K. Polk in 1846. The independent treasury system would function until 1914, when it was replaced by the Federal Reserve. There you go. So how do we get back to Independence Day? Independence Day from a central bank once again. I mean, we can see how they're formed. They're formed through wars or other things that force a nation to go ahead and involve itself with the central bank. Okay, so how do we get independence from a central bank? Hang on here. Oh, okay. I think the stream might have. Okay, anyway, sorry. So why can't the U.S. Treasury create and supply the money of the United States? It does for the coins. Why can't it do it for the notes? So that's another question there. And why can't each state create its own money using gold and silver as a backing? Or how would you do it? How would you do it to have some kind of a money that we can all use again? I mean, alternative currency, perhaps. So how do you get Independence Day? How do you get that back again? That's pretty much the question here. So that's going to wrap up the topic of the day. I'll be curious to see what your comments are. Go ahead and take a look at them. Just reading some notes here I got from Vincent, my colleague. Um, okay, hang on. Let's see. Uh, yeah. Okay. So I think we got a little copyright thing. I guess next time Vincent and I will put on the wigs and those coats for you, and we'll pretend to be the British and the Americans. So wardrobe, we need wardrobe. All right, we'll do that. We'll do that next time. Sorry about that, guys. Uh, maybe too many. Michelle. Okay. Too much truth, too many facts. Okay. Again, sorry about that, guys. But we'll have to take care of that somehow. We'll create. We've been. Never mind. It's my fault. I'll take care of it. Sorry about that, guys. Uh, anyways, yeah, Big Brother's watching that. That would be fun. Yeah, I'm kind of speechless here with what happened. Um, anyway, so what do you folks think can be done? I mean, can there be Independence Day number 3? Um, it does look like there is going to be some kind of a revolt going on. Things are not getting any easier, and it's not just in the U.S. It's all over the world. Central banks all over the world are they're making it tough with their policies. They're making it tough for people. So it could very well be an Independence Day for all the world. Uh, yeah. So the MiG 26. At least we'll get to see Vincent, right? We'll get Vincent in one of those wigs. I'll have to wear one of those white wigs too, and look for these overcoats, and we'll see if we can reenact something here. Maybe we'll ask the Singapore Navy if we can borrow a couple of their ships and see what happens. Actually, their ships are pretty good. You'd be impressed with them. Okay, glad you're back. Glad glad I'm back too. Okay, so anyway, again, interested to see what you think or how you think we could get Independence Day number 3, which would could be an Independence Day for all the world. So let me move over into commentary, which are all mine. So no copyright issues here. They're all mine. So I'll close with something said by Benjamin Strong. One of the Fed's creators and its first president adopted the philosophy in 1922, going so far as to write, "It was my belief, shared by all others in the Federal Reserve System, that their whole policy would be directed toward the stability of prices so far as it was possible for the Fed to influence prices." So there you go. Has the Fed gone too far? Have they influenced markets to which they have no authority, but have done so by propping up a dying system, picking winners, choosing losers? And the Fed has influenced the nation, the world with their policies, and the world has become tired. The world has become tired. US politicians exploit to their favor. Theirs, not yours, not mine, but theirs. We do need a return to sound money, a semblance of a gold standard, some sort of semblance to a gold standard, perhaps a congressional dissolution of the Fed, perhaps, and the authorization of the Treasury to perform monetary duties. But then again, how how tight would the Treasury be? I mean, would it really put us on back on budgeting our would the Treasury really put us back on sound money and taking care of the budgets? They are controlled in many ways by the politicians, of course, and politicians they don't necessarily want that. So we do need an independence day from the Federal Reserve, perhaps all central banks. If independence from central banks does not come, the opposite being dependence will. And we know this will be so with the ushering in of, let's say, central bank digital currencies, where we become dependent upon a central bank's say so or judgment by the powers that be. If they don't like what you say, well, there may be a price to pay. So, will we have another central bank's independence day? If we do, I'm pretty certain it's going to involve gold. It's going to involve you. In coinage, in backing a digital or tokenized system, gold, I'm pretty sure gold will be there, perhaps silver too. This type of Independence Day won't just be a US celebration, as mentioned, it could very well be a celebration for the entire world to bring back sound money, not just for us, but for generations to follow. So that's going to wrap up the commentary section, and I'm going to lick my wounds here as far as getting dinged from the copyright thing. Um, a lot of information I got did come from History Channel, so maybe that could have been one of them. So go ahead and watch the History Channel. Um, they are a pretty good source, so it could have come from there, and I guess these video clips. Usually it's okay, no problem, but this time we got kind of hit with them, so I apologize for that. But anyway, let me take a look at some of the comments here before we wrap out wrap up. Um, Let's see. Yeah, Harold B, that's a good question. Did you YouTube, did you give us a like? I mean, did you subscribe, give us a like or something? I mean, at least that would kind of make things a little bit better for us. But anyway, yeah, kind of wonder about that one. Um, let's see. Carrie Ellen Wilder Strong didn't need to concentrate on price stability. He needed to focus on sound money. It's a great point. Good point. Good point there. Let's see. John Bethea, will this be our last Independence Day? Uh, I think we should have more. I mean, I'm hoping we'll have more, but the world is it is changing. As mentioned or as seen as that in that Twitter post. Whether true or not, it's something to really consider. I mean, what if Saudi should go ahead and move over to the BRICS? Does it even matter? I mean, considering the petrodollar, for all intents and purposes, surely must be gone at this point if you have a sitting U.S. president asking his adversaries or other countries he's sanctioned to help out. Uh, Something is going on for sure without questions there. Um, let's see. Yeah, I'm all right. I want to say take one for the team, but I may have hurt the team. So sorry about that, guys. Let's see what else is out here. Yeah, Purple Heart. Purple Heart. Well, we'll see. We'll see how far that Purple Heart goes. But so anyway, I guess with that, I'll be wrapping up. Um, again, silver and gold, sound money. These are the things you want, especially in times like this with inflation. Even though the price is going down, this is where you really would like to accumulate more. It's not financial advice, professional or otherwise, but this is something I'm definitely going to do. So, Seymour Rivers, yes, I'm going to be picking up silver for sure. So again, I just want to thank you all for being here. Hang in there. We're all in this together. As someone mentioned before, we're all in this storm together. Some of us have yachts, some of us have rowboats, some of us have canoes, but we're in the storm together, and we all gotta kind of chain up and get each other through. So with that, having said that, Bill Holter coming up this week. I will see you guys hopefully next week. So saddle up for what's coming ahead and silver up as well. You guys take care and have a happy 4th in the US.